All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Phoenix Phenomenon. My name is Roxanne McCarty-O'Kane, your host for today, and every other time you've joined me. So thank you so much for tuning in once more. Today, I have with me the magnificent Gough, who I met over email actually, and was absolutely captivated by his incredible story. So Gough will tell you in his own words in a minute exactly what it is he's been up to, but just to give you a quick rundown, Gough is the creative director and owner of Beernuts Productions. He's the first legally blind person to write, produce, edit, direct and star in a feature film unassisted. So we've got a huge amount of talent here on screen with us today. And yeah, Gough's going to share his incredible story with us today. So thank you so much for joining us, Gough. You're a busy man, I understand.
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to chat with you.
Excellent. So Gough is actually squeezing us in between appointments today. He's out and about around the Gold Coast, I believe. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, I'm based on the Gold Coast. Absolutely.
Excellent. All right.
I'm just lucky it's sunny and not raining. Otherwise, I'd be in a world of trouble.
Your voice, yes. No, it's definitely looking very great down there today. So, perfect. So, Gough, just giving everyone, obviously, the icing on the cake of your story, but there is so much more that's gone on for you in your lifetime. I'd love for you to tell our viewers a little bit more about your journey to becoming a creative director of Beernuts Productions and what it was that got you to that stage.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Beernuts Productions started back in 2006, so we have been going for quite a while now. But before then, I was always interested in, script writing and storytelling and filmmaking. And, I'd written a bunch of scripts and all that sort of stuff and tried to get them produced by different networks and production companies and go on to different funding bodies. And, of course, when they found out that I couldn't see, the interest dried up pretty quickly. So it became apparent to me after several years that the best way for me to move forward, if I wanted to continue in the career that I wanted to continue in, the best way for me to do that was to do it myself. So I pulled all my funds together and just started up Beernuts Productions, got some very basic equipment and set about making the first film, which you spoke about earlier, which was I Will Not Go Quietly, which was a feature film documentary. So yeah, that was released in 2010. So it was a bit of time building up to that, but mainly getting the funds together and all that sort of stuff. But so that's pretty much how it all Beernuts Productions sort of came to be. So it was more bred out of frustration than anything else. But looking back, I think it's worked out for the best because it means now there's no third party interference with what I can produce. So it means that the work I produce is absolutely all my own and there's no one saying you can't do this or you can't do that or something needs to be a certain length or time. It means that I have the ability now to produce the work I want to produce and of course distribute it as well, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. Ultimate freedom right there, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it has its pluses and its minuses. I mean, like I said, the pluses, of course, is that, there's nobody breathing down my neck telling me what I can and can't do and dictating my productions to me. But, of course, the minus side is that obviously I don't get the funding that other filmmakers and whatnot would get. So it means that I've got to be a bit smarter when it comes to budgeting. And it means that obviously the productions aren't $1 million masterpieces. But, I still think they're really funny and people are entertained by them and they download them and they come back for more. So they obviously enjoy them, which is fantastic. But so it has its pluses and its minuses. But overall, I think it's funny in life sometimes how something at the time you think is no good, but can actually work out for the best. So it is strange how that can happen sometimes.
Absolutely. And just going back to your journey to even creating Beernuts Productions, you mentioned, there was quite a lot of setbacks there when you were approaching other people with these amazing ideas and your creative concepts. What was it that, I guess, stopped you from getting a bit of discouragement out of that, and what was it that ultimately propelled you forward each time?
Oh no, well, there was a lot of discouragement. Don't worry about that. I mean, one thing that people with a disability can relate to is mental health problems are quite rampant throughout the disability community because we're not given a fair go when we should be. I mean, no, it's I find it offensive when I was a young fella, just out of high school applying for jobs, and people would tell me that I can't do something, and I've only walked in their office and just met them seconds earlier. I mean, how dare they tell me what I can and can't do? They don't know me. They don't know my skill set. They don't understand my disability. They have no right to say that, and yet they do. So with that sort of attitude, and the same goes for writing the scripts. I wrote the scripts, and they say, "Oh, that's really funny. That's really great." I have a meeting with them, and they find out I can't see, and then all of a sudden, no, we can't help you. So it is very discouraging and very disheartening. And so I sort of came to the decision. I mean, I sort of had two choices in life. I could either sit at home and do nothing, or I could follow my passion and my dream and my skill set, my talent, because I believe that everybody has a skill set, everybody's met somebody who can put certain ingredients together and it's a delicious meal. I mean, I'm a terrible cook, but other people, they can just make, or they open the lid of a car. I don't even know what the word is. That's how good of a mechanic I am. They can open the bonnet of a car, and they just know how to fix it. They just know that plugs into that plugs into that. They just know that that's their skill set. That's what they were born to do. And I believe that when it comes to storytelling and filmmaking, that's my skill set. That's my talent. And so, I can either utilize that and make it, make my films and be the best I can be, or I can sit at home and do nothing. So that was my choice. And really, it's not really a choice, because I want to be a productive member of society. I want to entertain people. So that's what I chose to do. So, don't. There was a lot of discouragement along the way, which is a shame, but that's how it was, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. And mental health, as you mentioned, mental health and living with a disability were the core topics of I Will Not Go Quietly, your first production, which, essentially is your life story. What was it like to create that, and to really just like to shine a spotlight on who you are and what makes you you?
Yeah, well, I thought when I was sort of coming up with the idea of the film, well, firstly, obviously I had very little money. So the first thing was, what kind of a film can I make with no money? And documentary is the obvious option, because there's no stunts, there's no special effects, you don't have to hire a bunch of actors or crew members. So it is a cheap film to make. So, okay, so I'm going to make a documentary. So what am I passionate about? What do I want to talk about? So disability and mental health are two things I have very good knowledge in, because I live it. So I thought, well, that's going to be my subject. So then what's my next step? So, well, I need to interview people. Okay, but I need to still have some kind of narrative through that to, tie everything together. So that's why I used my own story as kind of like a timeline, and then put interviews with different experts around it, so that, so I say my experience, and then I have a bunch of experts. We spoke to a neurosurgeon, school teachers, psychologists, people that work in the disability sector for employment, but even people like comedians and things like that, so that, it's all not dark and depressing. Want to make it a bit light and put some laughs in there for people as well. So I got a range of different people, and then I would say an experience that I had through it, whether it be through schooling or whatever, and then I would cut then to what the experts had to say about that particular issue. So that's how the film was kind of made and structured, and that's why I went the direction I went.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you kind of laid it all out on the table. Let's be honest, with you were really vulnerable, really open with sharing your life story in that documentary, and even to the point of sharing a moment where you did attempt suicide or contemplate suicide.
Yeah, that's right. That was it's a difficult thing to share with people.
Yeah.
So it's not something that was fun for me to do, but I did it because it was important to the project. I mean, the project, it needed to be honest. I needed to share what happened and my experiences, and that was one of my experiences that happened. And it happens to lots of people with disabilities. So, I mean, it's something that absolutely happened to me. It was brought about through, years and years. Like when people do watch the documentary, they'll see, it's not a snap decision you come to. I mean, it's over, years of being bullied at school and poor education, and then lack of opportunities with employment and discrimination. And it builds over years and years and years and years until finally, you as a person, you've had too much, or you've had enough. You're at the end of your tether type thing. You can't. You feel that you can't go on pretty much. You don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. So you take that option. So obviously it didn't work out the way I had planned it to at the time, which is probably for the best. But yeah, but that was something that was obviously important to tell in the film. So I did.
Yeah, and what was it like? Because obviously you did every component of this film. So to be able to sit there and record yourself doing that, what was it like listening to that story back again when you were in the editing phase? Did it feel like it was yourself? Was there a disconnect there? I was just curious to see what you were feeling.
Yeah, it's unpleasant to hear it and to watch it back, I must say. I've seen the film back. Obviously, I edited it, so I've seen the film back countless times. But I get sort of uneasy. I mean, it's just how can I describe it? I suppose I wouldn't say there's really a disconnect, because there kind of is, but there kind of isn't. I'm probably not really answering the question very well, but there sort of is a little bit. I think that might have been the fact that so much time has gone by, because I would have been, how old was I when that took place? I would have been about 24, 25, and I'm 37 now. So yeah, it was a while back that it happened. So I just find it really uneasy to listen to. I think it's because it brings up those feelings and those memories, and so obviously nobody likes to think or feel about negative things. So it just brings up uncomfortable memories and things like that. So I think that's why I find it awkward to watch it, I think would be the answer. But like I said originally, I knew it was important for the film for that to be discussed, because it's something. Well, it's real. It happens. I mean, it happens in society. It's not discussed enough, in my opinion, in society. So, I mean, that's my feelings on that issue broadly. So I don't want to be, a hypocrite. I need to, if I want other people to discuss that, then I also need to be open as well. So I need to, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And so just to bring people out the other side of that, what was it that I guess, to put it bluntly, gave you your mojo back? What was it that helped you to get back on track and to discover your passion to continue with your projects and everything?
Well, the passion. The problem was the passion never left me. That was kind of the problem. The passion was always there. It was just I wasn't being given the opportunities to pursue that passion, and that was one of many factors. But that was one of the factors that led me to that original decision. But then years later, so after I released I Will Not Go Quietly, I had some pretty intensive therapy with a couple of different psychologists, and that helped a lot in regards to sort of sorting out my thinking to a lot more healthier, obviously. But so I just, for those people who might be watching in Australia, I mean, it's not as daunting as what people might think. I mean, you go to your GP, you get a mental health care plan from your GP, and then you head on to the psychologist. And if you find a really good psychologist, then they can help you with whatever issue you're facing, hopefully reasonably quickly. For me, it took a little bit longer because I was packing quite a few issues. But so it was just a lot of psychology and a lot of Well, it was funny. One of the things the psychologist said to me was, it was your choice to do this as a career, so do it. Just find a way to make it happen. Just do it. So go ahead, off you go. And really, it sounds very simple, but it kind of really is as simple as that. I mean, if somebody, again, using just other jobs, if somebody wants to be a baker, then just do your apprenticeship and become a baker. You know, it's not, you know, people, I tend to think people make things more complicated than what they should. I find that a lot when I'm making my films and I talk to other filmmakers about how they went about it. I find that they, you know, they go through all this convoluted kind of stuff, and they really make a very simple task very difficult by going all around the houses instead of just going from point A to point B. They go via point Q. You know, it's just people need to sort of streamline things and make things a lot more simple for themselves. And I find that a lot when speaking to others in my industry as well.
Absolutely. And I was watching a few of your media interviews on your website, and quite a lot of people, your offsider, your producer Simon, was very forthcoming in saying that you run a very tight ship with your crew, and you know you're very visionary in what you want to create, and very specific about what you want to create, which is really amazing. So.
Yeah, no, that's true. People know well. I mean, communication is key in any job, and I think of it a lot like football, because I'm a massive AFL fan. So I think of it a lot like football. So I'm sort of the coach, and so it's my job to make sure that every player, whether it be an actor or crew member, but every player knows their role in the team and knows exactly what they need to do at every single moment of that shoot. I mean, like I said earlier, we don't have a lot of money, so we can't mess about. We can't, you know, go back and reshoot things or take 5 days to shoot a scene or anything like that, you know, so there can't be any mucking about. So we need to get in there, get filming and get out. So, yeah, so there's definitely no mucking around. I mean, we have fun when we do it, but I mean, as in, as in, you know, we don't procrastinate or anything like that. You know, it's all business, it's all go. And yeah, I'd like to think I'm very clear with my instructions, and Simon informs me that I am. So yeah.
Excellent. So you're nailing that. That's awesome. Perfect. And for those who are maybe being introduced to you for the first time, Gough, and they haven't seen any of your movies yet, and your little featurettes, I'd love for you to, I guess, give some insight into how it is that you're able to do what you do with your limited vision.
Yeah, sure. Well, I write the scripts, so I know exactly, when I write a script, I know exactly what I want. So it surprises me, in fact, that more writers don't direct their own work, because nobody knows their characters better than them. I mean, they know how they want each line delivered, because they can, well, me at least, I can hear the lines being said as I type them out. I know what the characters are saying. So, yeah, so it just comes to, like, I mean, it's the same as any other film production. So we, once the script's done, I get the crew together, get all the dates and everything organised. Then I'll cast the film. So I run auditions, contact the talent agencies, do auditions, get the actors that I audition the best, obviously, hire them. Then I rehearse them pretty hard, because, again, we don't have time to shoot things a million times. So I rehearse them a lot, and I'm really particular when it comes to the rehearsal. So I'll make sure that they're nailing, because, again, I can't see their facial expressions, so it's important for me that their tones and inflections in their voice are spot on, because I believe that, I mean, for example, if somebody's angry, if somebody's yelling, then their face is going to dictate that regardless. So you need them, as long as their voice is correct, then I think the face pretty much takes care of itself to a certain point. So I make sure that they're delivering the lines exactly how I want them to be delivered. And then, yeah, it's just a matter of sorting out costumes, having meetings with the makeup people, making sure that the makeup is what we want, wardrobe, like I say, and then locations obviously get organised. And then, yeah, we get into shooting. And then, as we mentioned, Simon is sort of like my sighted guide. So when we're filming, I'll make sure that it sounds all good. And I'll just say to Simon, you know, we're getting good face from the actors. He's like, yeah, we're getting good face. And does it look nice? It looks nice. I said, all right, we'll move on then. So, yeah, that's pretty much how it all works. So, yeah.
Awesome. And when it comes to editing and things like that, I know you take on all of that as well. What sort of technology are you able to use to assist you with getting that done?
Well, again, when one of my first jobs when I left high school was in radio. So I was a production well, it was commercial and promo producer was the job title, and essentially I would obviously make the radio stations commercials and promos. So I've been editing audio since I was like 18, 19. So I treat it like editing a radio play pretty much, or a radio commercial. So I do it by audio. So I know that, for example, if there's a close-up and a wide shot, I'll know that I want the close-up until the end of this sentence, and then at the end of that particular sentence, we're going to go to the wide shot. And so that's what we do. So I give the instructions, Simon makes it happen. Now, if it's something that's more visual in nature, so for example, somebody's getting out of a car, so we're going from the interior of a car to an exterior of the car, so that it flows, Simon will make sure that happens for me. So he'll just time the cut so that when the actor is getting out of the car, when they're sort of exiting the car, then we move to the exterior and you see them exiting the car. So he'll do the more visual shots for me. But when it comes to when people are talking, then I will absolutely call the shots, and I'll say, we're going from, shot 1 to shot 2, or shot 3 to shot 2, or whatever it might be. So I do it all by audio, just by listening.
That's incredible. Excellent. And how many movies are you up to now? I think the last thing I saw was 13, but I'm sure you've probably done more since then.
Yeah. So we just released a film. Actually, we just released our 17th film, and it's called How to Land That Dream Job, and it's a mockumentary, basically giving you a how-to guide when attending a job interview. So basically, we've got 16 different job applicants going for a range of different jobs, and it's a proper comedy mockumentary. And so I've tried to target every corner of society, because it's important to me, if I'm going to make fun of one part of society, I have to make fun of every part of society. So yeah, absolutely, you got to be fair with these things. So that's why there's 16 different applicants for 16 different jobs, and we sort of go through. It's obviously extreme examples and all that sort of stuff, but that's we go through different things, mainly what not to do during job interviews. So yeah, it goes for about 25 minutes, as most of the films go for about 20, 25 minutes, and yeah, and the majority of them are comedy based, because that's my number one thing, is comedy and making people laugh. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yes, I Will Not Go Quietly is definitely a standalone, and I've noticed that the rest of your catalogue is very much, the belly laugh kind of variety, which is awesome. So.
Well, yeah. Absolutely, you got to give people a good laugh. I mean, life can be depressing enough as it is, so you need to make sure you can get some humour in there whenever you can.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it looks like there's nothing that's off limits. Like you've done, like you said, job interviews, you've done politics, you've covered quite a lot of different, I guess, genres and topics there in the films that you have created.
Yeah, well, I love to get subjects that people are a little bit touchy about. So yeah. I mean, I did one about the environment, which people are quite passionate about. I've done one about the pornography industry, which people are quite passionate about, pro and against, obviously. Yeah. And again, it's important. It's all done in a comedy style. There's nothing inappropriate about it. It's just, but I like getting those sort of subjects that people are really touchy about and ripping them apart to kind of show them that maybe they should lighten up just a touch, and that maybe they shouldn't be so sensitive about these, or maybe it's all good to be passionate about a subject, but realise that there's humour to be had in there as well. So I love getting subjects like that and just ripping them apart. It's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, perfect. And I mean, there must be so much fodder for you there. How do you, I guess, pick and choose what to focus on next? Does something kind of resonate with you more at a particular time, or what's that process like for you?
Yeah, pretty much. So we're with because I like, there's other things other than mockumentaries. I've done about 6. I've done 6 mockumentaries. So when I feel in the mood to do one of them, it's more about picking a subject. So for example, I did one about the war on drugs, or the so-called war on drugs. And so when I was thinking about different subjects, I'm like, well, firstly, what's a subject that people are passionate about? And the war on drugs is something that gets a lot of coverage. All right, so what are we going to do? So we need to, like I said earlier, we need to cover it from all angles. So, I interview a fake politician, a fake journalist, a drug dealer, and then a drug user, and sort of go through a police officer, and sort of go through, I've got all the bases covered pretty much, and create a little fun mockumentary about the war on drugs, which hopefully, gives people a laugh. So yeah, it's pretty much about picking a subject that, like you said, has a lot of fodder for comedy, and then just ripping it to shreds.
That's awesome. Perfect. And do you like to work to a certain time frame with your productions as well, or is it all very subjective each time?
Yeah, no, we're actually, a film usually takes about 3 months to make. So, and it's very different from a usual film in that regard, because out of that, let's say 12-week period, 10 of that weeks will be preparation, and then it's a week for filming, editing, and then the film goes directly up onto the Beernuts Productions website so that people can download and watch it. So there's no mucking around again with me. So there's a lot of preparation, because obviously, like I said earlier, I've got to cast it, I've got to crew it, I've got to get everything sorted out myself, and that takes time. And also rehearsing the actors, I like to give plenty of time for the actors so that they know, because I mean, you can't just give an actor a script and then in a week expect them to come up with, a really great performance. So you need to give them plenty of time as well. So then once sort of like the 10 weeks of pre-production are done, like I say, we get into it straight away. So it's filming, editing, and then straight up onto the Beernuts Productions website for people to download. And so there's no, and then once that happens, then it's about marketing the film and all that sort of stuff. So it is a little bit different to the usual way a film is made and released.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's been the biggest favorite so far? What's been the biggest amount of downloads?
It's hard to say really, because me personally, I mean, they're all my babies. They're all my favourite. I mean, I like them all for different reasons. It's quite funny, because obviously there's different parts of them that people watching them aren't going to know that I know, because I wrote them. So so I like them all for different reasons. In regards to what's been the most popular for downloads, it's hard to tell, because the other good thing about what I do is that a film remains on the website forever. So a film that I might have made 5 years ago, if somebody jumps on there tomorrow and sees the film, it's new to them. So it's the first time they've seen it. So they might download it, and it's a brand new project for them. So whereas a normal film will go to the cinema and then it'll have its, its digital release, and then it sort of fades away and is gone forever, mine are up on the Beernuts Productions website forever. So people can enjoy them whenever and however they choose to do so. So, and that's the other good thing as well about what I do, is we've just recently made it so that all the films are now available for Android, iPhone, and also the proper big screen version as well. So it doesn't matter what device people are using, they can download my material as well, which also makes life a lot easier for folks out there as well.
Absolutely. That's amazing. And I'm interested to know, since you're obviously on a roll, you're churning out some amazing content and connecting with so many people around the world now with what you're creating. Have you been approached by any other companies that do want a piece of you now?
Well, I get emails from a lot of people asking for money to make their films. I get a lot of those.
Yes.
Which, I mean, look, I can understand and appreciate that, because, I mean, I used to do that myself. I used to approach people and ask for funding and all that sort of stuff. They don't realise that I'm probably just as broke as them, really, because, I mean, the money that I make goes straight into making the next film project. So, I'm not rolling in coin by any stretch. And so I just make my own work. So, but yeah, so I get a lot of emails like that sort of stuff, which, again, I always reply, because, like I say, I was in their situation one day as well. So I do get it, but it is funny. I do get emails from people all over the place. I actually got an email from a bloke in America the other day saying, "Oh, I'm coming to live in Australia. I'm an actor. Can you hire me in a film?" I'm like, well, I mean, how about, you audition first? I mean, let's start from the beginning here, buddy. I mean, let's, back the truck up. I mean, Australia's also a big place. I mean, if you're going to live in Perth, it might not work out so well, So, it is funny the emails that I do get now, but yeah, no, I haven't been approached by any big Hollywood studios or anything like that. But I won't be holding my breath either, I don't think. But because my stuff's a little bit unusual, a little bit quirky, so I don't know that it. The Hollywood studios have quite get my style, maybe. So yeah,
you're just ahead of your time. That's all it is.
That's what we'll go with. I like it. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Excellent. That's great. So I just wanted to see if there was any like what are the next big exciting projects? I'm sure you've always got something on the boil.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we're just about to start pre-production on our next film. So our 18th film will be we're going to be filming it in February. So so we're just about to start pre-production on that very soon. So this next one coming up, hopefully people will obviously enjoy and get a laugh. But in the meantime, obviously they can head on over to beernutspproductions.com. So yeah, just the Beernuts Productions website and download all of our other material and get ready for the new film that's coming up. So the next one's all about feminism, because again, I like to get a subject that people are passionate about and I like to tear it apart. So the next one's going to be about feminism. So I expect a lot of hate mail, but we'll see how we go.
No. Actually, is that a thing? Do you get a lot of, do you shake a lot of passionate people out of their trees when you release things?
No. Well, I think people understand when they watch the film, and like I said earlier, I make fun of both sides. So it doesn't matter whether you're left or right wing. I'd like to think that I make fun of both sides equally, because I am also a firm believer in it's not my job to lecture or give an opinion. It's my job to entertain. So my films are about entertaining. I'm sure that a couple of my viewpoints probably get snuck in there somehow, but predominantly and overwhelmingly, it's all about, like, my motto is jokes are king. So when I'm writing a script, the jokes always come first. Any message or any point will always come second, but the jokes are always king. So, and I think when people watch my work, they understand that I'm making fun of everybody equally. So I'm never ever poking fun or being malicious or malice towards any one group of people, never ever. So I think people actually understand that when they watch it and they realise what I'm doing, they get the joke. They understand that there's no malice intent. It's all done in humour, and I'm making fun of everybody. So I think that sort of softens the blow a little bit.
Perfect. No, it's a good place to be, definitely. So excellent. And coming back to your website as well, like people who go and visit it perhaps for the first time after seeing this interview, it's not just your movies and mockumentaries that are on there. You've actually, you've written a novella, you've done so many other things as well to add to your list of accomplishments.
Yeah. So we've also, when people go to beernutsproductions.com, they'll see 17 different films. We've also got 9 audio downloads, which are like 20-minute little comedy sketches. So kind of like a podcast, I guess, but they're all individual little comedy sketches that go for about 20 minutes each. And then, like you said, there's 4 novellas, and then there's one picture book, which is an inappropriate children's picture book. So, which was a lot of fun to do, actually. But so it's Jimmy Green and his adventures in the Magic Forest, and a lot of things happened to Jimmy Green in the Magic Forest, which but we did it in a picture book style. So it's the illustrations. You've got to give credit where credit's due. And Ilya that did the illustration, she absolutely nailed it. So it's really, really funny. But yeah, so when people go to beernutsproductions.com, there's tons for them to enjoy and to check out. So obviously, I urge and encourage everyone to hit up the Beernuts Productions website.
Absolutely, and I'll be seconding that. We'll have a link below to make sure that everyone can click straight through and start checking out all the greatness. So, but before we do wrap up, Gough, I did want to ask you. Obviously you've done so much, and in your lifetime you've achieved so much. You're still working towards changing stereotypes and getting people to be more open-minded about a lot of things. And I wanted to get, I guess some words that you wanted to share with our viewers today to, I guess, maybe encourage those who are struggling with some of the challenges that you've had to overcome yourself, how they can, proceed.
Well, I think the message more shouldn't go to them, but to everybody else. So I think people need to maybe educate themselves on things like disability a bit more. And so then if a blind dude, for example, or a deaf person or somebody in a wheelchair was to come to your office with a resume for a job, treat them just as like you would treat anybody else. Their disability should not be factored into your decision making whatsoever. I mean, they might have fantastic qualifications. On the flip side, they may not have fantastic qualifications.
Yeah.
So you would interview them and treat them just normally. So I would just encourage people out there to educate themselves, whether it be on disability or mental health or whatever it might be. Just, I mean, I think a lot of things happen. I think unintentional ignorance is a big problem, because I don't think people mean to be mean, but they are. And so, you know, and I honestly think it is unintentional, and it's just simply because nobody's ever educated them. I mean, in this country, in Australia, there's no education for kids going through school when it comes to, you know, disability and that sort of stuff. So they don't have any understanding of it. So if you don't have an understanding of something, then of course you're not going to, you might be scared of that for some reason, you know, because I mean, people are always scared of things they don't understand. So it's just really important for folks out there to educate themselves and give people a fair go and treat people. I mean, I suppose it comes down to what everybody's mother said to them when they were little, which was treat others how you would like to be treated. So I suppose that's really the main message that should come out. You know, I think people just need to remember what they were taught when they were a little kid, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, people forget the simple things quite often, don't they? Simple things.
Well,
like
it's very true. I mean, it's funny actually, because I love one of the things I like to do for stress relief is exercise. I'm a massive ambassador and a massive support of exercise, no matter what it might be. I think everybody should get out there and move their body somehow. But I was having a chat to a friend of mine who's a personal trainer, and she said to me, and it's kind of funny, she said all the things that you did as a little kid, like jumping up and down and climbing on monkey bars and doing handstands and cartwheels, she said, they're really good for you and you should do those sorts of things as an adult, but we don't because we think they're silly because they're for kids. But she said, you know, jumping up and down and being active and stuff like kids are, and running around a park and all that sort of stuff like kids do, and climbing and doing all that sort of stuff, that's really good for you. So you should keep on doing that, even though you're an adult. People might laugh at you and think you look silly, but I mean, you're keeping yourself fit and healthy, so it's a good thing. So you are quite right. It's funny, those things that you do as a kid, I mean, are still relevant, if not even more relevant as an adult than they are as when you're a kid. So yeah.
Absolutely. And even right down to, you know, your self-belief. Like when you're a kid, you think you can do anything. Like you just have that innate self-belief that anything's possible. And
It's
I mean,
true.
you've rediscovered that, like you're owning your future and following your passion. But a lot of us do fall by the wayside, don't we? We get bogged down by everyone else telling us what we can't do. And
yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And it's really important for people to sort of go back to what they thought when they were a kid. I mean, you know, and the other thing too, when it comes to discrimination, you'll find that in a schoolyard, when kids are like 5 and 6, there's no such thing as racism, because kids don't know to fear the black kid because they don't think that the black kid's anything different. It's only when people around them or the media or whatever it might be, and negative influences are around them, that say for some weird, strange reason that black people are bad, which obviously is ridiculous, as we all know. But it's only until that information is told to them that they think that, unless, you know, so that's why that sort of thing happens, you know, is because, but if you look in a schoolyard, I mean, you know, when I was at primary school, when I was a young kid, I mean, I was never bullied by the other children because they just saw me as another kid, because, you know, they weren't looking at a disability. And the same thing with racism, same thing with sexuality. I mean, you're not looking at kids. Kids are looking at kids to see if they want to play with them and you know, and run up and down and climb the tree and all that sort of stuff. That's what kids are interested in. You know, they're not interested in the colour of your skin or who you like or who you don't like and all that sort of stuff. They're just interested in if you're a nice person and if you are going to play with them and have fun. That's all they're interested in. And so, yeah, I think people need to, as you say, you know, resort back to their thought patterns to a point of when they were younger.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a beautiful message for today, actually. Thank you for that. Perfect. So, for those of you who've just met Gough for the first time, he's obviously pretty incredible, as you've seen and heard. We will have a link to his website below, Beernuts Productions. Go click through, check it out, check out his amazing work. And do you encourage people to contact you and have conversations, Gough?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, no, I'm all over social media. So if you just type in Beernuts Productions into Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Did I say Instagram? Well, I'm on Instagram, but I'm on everything. So just type in Beernuts Productions and I come up. And yeah, by all means, I encourage folks to message me or to send me an email or whatever they want to do. It's all fine by me. I'm a reasonably approachable kind of fellow. So yeah, no, by all means. And yeah, follow and like all the social media pages and keep up to date on what Beernuts Productions is doing and hopefully enjoy all the work going forward as well.
Absolutely, and keep it up. We're loving to see what's coming out of that production company. So thank you again so much for your time, Gough. It's been an amazing time having a chat with you today. Thank you.
No, well, thank you, Roxanne. I really appreciate your time and having me on the program.
Not a worry at all. Thanks. And so for those of you who are continuing to enjoy watching the Phoenix Phenomenon, we're not even halfway through the season yet, so there's plenty more incredible interviews to come. So yeah, keep following the Phoenix Phenomenon as well. So many things to follow these days, Gough. Incredible.
It's true.
All right, thank you, and we'll catch you all again next time.